Yo, yo, yo!
Yo, how's it going? How's your summer going?
Dude, it's going great.
It's good, but I can't help but notice. I do like the Carmelo Anthony jersey, I will say, but I noticed some blue stripes. Could you care to tell me what that's about?
That's because basketball season is over and it is World Cup time. Let's go, baby.
Let's
World
go.
Cup is on. Everybody's hype. Everybody's tuning in all over the world. It is summertime, baby. But that doesn't mean that Brady Taylor and Noah Smith are taking a break. We're here with another episode of Off the Dome. Welcome back. We've missed you all so very much, and we're so excited to talk about this
We
crazy slate.
Before we get into these World Cup matchups, though, we've got to talk. There was some significant news in the leagues around in the North American leagues. Obviously, the Knicks won the NBA championship and the
Oh,
Canes won the Stanley Cup final. But in draft week, those weren't the biggest headlines. We had four huge blockbuster trades. Particularly the people in South Florida are very happy with how their teams have been looking.
man, it just feels like loss after loss for the Celtics. Not only do we get first rounded, absolutely shafted by the Sixers, now in the offseason, we're still getting shafted. Giannis decides to join the Heat despite the Celtics giving them a great offer in Brown and two picks. Rumor on the street is that Brad Stevens did not want to give up Hugo Gonzalez, which if that's true, I trust in Stevens, but I'm pretty sure Giannis is more valuable to the team than Jaylen Brown and Hugo. But yeah, I don't know if they're going to really do anything. I don't think they have the guard play to really go anywhere. So it just sucks that, what could have been Giannis and Tatum together would have been pretty scary. But that's not the only trade that went down. We saw LaMelo going to the Timberwolves, which is pretty crazy. Some crazy NBA news. I mean, him and Anthony Edwards, you've got to keep them off the streets of Minnesota because they both are terrible drivers, but I'm sure that they're going to be able to drive this offense into hopefully getting to the finals this year. I mean, it feels like they're always either a Western Conference semi or Western Conference finals team, but
Yeah.
they can never get over the hump.
They're always the sixth seed for some reason. They're gonna have some crazy sixth seed runs. But we also saw in Miami, Sunrise, South Florida area, Brady Tkachuk, one of the faces of USA hockey, got traded to the Florida Panthers to play with his brother Matthew. And my New York Rangers traded and got Pavel Dorofeyev, who is a younger guy, one of the best shots in the league. He's not quite at the point yet to where he's a household name, but he is quite the player. I was so excited in my Florence Verbo when I found out that news.
Yeah, I mean, my Bruins also did some crazy stuff. I don't know necessarily if it was an overpay, but we did give up two of our first round picks for this JJ Paterka guy. Um, he's from the Utah Mammoth, so hopefully it can be a mammoth of a trade for us. But I never like it when my team has to give up multiple first round picks to get somebody who realistically I don't really know.
He's solid. I'll give you that. He's solid. He had a down year. He's not two first round picks solid though.
Yeah, unfortunately for us, but yeah, and then a little bit more locally, I mean, we took the Syracuse jersey off, but there's definitely some Syracuse basketball news still. William Kyle and Nate King, seemingly the only good players on Syracuse's basketball team last year, both picked up deals from NBA teams, which is huge. William Kyle signed with the Lakers. Nate King's signed with the Heat to join. Giannis and him are going to be a great tandem duo, I suppose. But big for the Syracuse guys.
It's funny you mentioned William Kyle going to the Lakers. His performance in the free throw line reminds me of another great Lakers center.
Yeah, yeah. He's not going to be asking Shaq for that free throw routine. He's going to have to get coached up before he gets in the league because, quite frankly, I think that if Elgin Baylor or Jerry West decides to pull up to a Lakers game, they might have a stroke watching his free throw form and just die on the spot.
He's gonna waste LeBron's last year, maybe.
Seriously.
But now we move back into the main event. It's that time of the year, or should we say that time of the every 4 years, because this event does not happen every year. We got the World Cup. As it stands, we've moved into the round of 32. Teams have already been eliminated. Are there any teams looking at this that shock you? For me, there's one that
Yeah.
came in, was expected to win the group of the United States, Turkey. They performed horrible.
Yeah, Turkey didn't even get a win until they faced, the poverty US team that was benching all their players. Definitely some shockers in this for me. A bunch of Group A solid teams. I was not expecting South Africa to make it out of the group with both Czechia and South Korea, both very solid sides that I expect to at least get into the knockout round, but no, they're both going down. I obviously would have liked Turkey. They're a great team. Got to root for the Scots. Scots took over Boston for a couple of days, so that was pretty awesome. I got to interact with a couple. And no, they do not wear anything under their kilts if you need that question answered. But I was definitely sad to see them get knocked out. A little surprised about Iraq. They had a somewhat solid team, but other than that, it's basically all the chalk teams that you would expect to go home. Curacao, I really liked how much pride they showed even when they just scored one goal. They were, going crazy, but I don't think anybody was picking them to go past the group stage.
One of my favorite players to play with in FIFA got eliminated. Son on South Korea. He is absolutely electric. He ripped me one game, ripping 8 goals. He's very solid. But just overall, some of these names, you wouldn't expect to see South Korea and Turkey and Czechia eliminated, but you look and you see Cape Verde still on in the tournament.
Yeah, Cape Verde has been a really intriguing team to me because they haven't lost a game, but they also haven't won a game. And I don't really know where they line up against certain teams because all they've shown is that they're just playing to the level of whatever opponent they have. And it's not like it's just a 0-0 result. They're holding the ball all game. Like they've scored two goals in some of their games. Obviously, there were games where it was 0-0, like that game against Spain. But they're a solid team. I just want to see like can they really compete with their first round matchup in Argentina? Can they play level with someone like Messi? Like, I don't even know with this team at this point.
I mean, their goalie picked up quite the following recently, so they got
Yeah.
that going for them.
I mean, his
But
evaluation was probably 50,000 pounds before the tournament started.
yeah, but shifting over to the host nation, the United States of America.
Be questioned about this team, like how quickly can they really turn this around? But what I do know is that it definitely is an advantage to be playing games in your own country, have the backing of all the fans. In other sports, it's huge. In soccer, it's huge. When the crowd is behind you, it's definitely going to help you win some games.
Yeah, I know. I wish we had some more of these games in college stadiums. That would be electric. In college atmospheres. I mean, we can't do football here in the US. We gotta put in some college football, some NFL, sprinkle that in. But yeah, and now I shift to a team that USA might potentially face in the future. A guy that you're very familiar with as you got his jersey right on. The GOAT debate. We have seen Ronaldo and Messi have two very different starts to this tournament. How do you view that status on the gap between? I know which way you're gonna you're gonna side with. I know which way I'm gonna side with as I got to see him play. But how do you view the gap between Messi over Ronaldo right now?
Well, first off, I just need to clarify. While this might look like a Lionel Messi jersey, I don't know if the camera will catch it. This is actually a Christian Pulisic jersey that I made
Oh,
last year. I don't know if you can see, but
your camera went off a little.
ah, whatever. Stupid zoom settings. I taped a Pulisic thing on the back of this jersey, so it's technically a Christian Pulisic alternate jersey, let's say. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm definitely on Team Messi. I think Ronaldo is the greatest goal scorer of all time, but if you just look at all around game,
Mm.
commanding an offense, being, you know, winning individual accomplishments, impact on the sport, impact on your country, I think Messi clears in almost every category that isn't goal scoring. And so, yeah, definitely got to take Messi. But they're both doing well this World Cup.
Mm.
Ronaldo ghosted a couple games, but he had a good game against Uzbekistan.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're going to be able to tell our audience, you're going to be able to tell I don't have exactly the most soccer ball knowledge as this goes on, but going to that game at Jordan Hare, that exhibition, Messi checked in at like the 65th minute or something like that, and you could just tell the energy around him. They every time they showed him on the Jumbotron, even just like getting ready, the whole crowd erupted. But you could just tell watching him when he finally got in that he was the best player on the pitch. It inspired me really. Like I know I'm hyping him up a lot, but it was very inspiring and it really got me into this World Cup. But yeah, so that's my stance on Messi.
Yeah, I mean, before the World Cup, saying Messi scores at Jordan Hare would be like witchcraft to anybody. It wouldn't be the craziest thing that's happened at Jordan Hare,
No.
but um, we definitely have a couple of great matchups that we've got to talk about. And obviously, some of these games are going to be, you know, blowouts. There are definitely a couple nations that got easy draws. Argentina against Cabo Verde. You've got Germany facing Paraguay. Some teams that just got very, very lucky in the first round with their draw, but there are also a lot of bangers in this first round. So we're just going to choose to only talk about the bangers so that you guys don't have to hear, 16 different analyses and a lot of, the same opinions. And looking through right now, we've got a lot of different takes. So this is going to be a great episode, and we hope you guys are ready for this because we have been loading this up. We've done a lot of prep work. So here we go. First matchup that we've got, Japan versus Brazil. This is a banger of a matchup. I can't believe we're getting it in the first round. Japan, so much history at this tournament. Last year, they were, one of the surprise teams to come out of their group. They had that big blue lock thing. They were one of the underdogs. A really loaded group. They made it out. This year, I think they're in great form. But Brady, I want to hear, who are you taking in this game and why?
I'm a really big fan of Vinicius Jr. I feel like he gets like a lot of people don't like him. They say he's overrated. And, you know, he's not like a world class player, I wouldn't call him. He's definitely like a solid player. I wouldn't put him up there with, the Messis, the Mbappes, the Ronaldos. But he's solid. He's been pretty good this tournament. He has 4 goals, 1 assist through 3 games. But I mean, I think, Japan, they haven't lost in this tournament. I don't think they've faced an attack like what they're going to face against Brazil. I think the availability of Neymar, obviously he isn't the player that he used to be, but having that veteran presence in these knockout round would be huge. So for that reason, regardless, I think Brazil's too much. So I'm taking Brazil.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Brazil has a lot of talent. Um, I would definitely consider Vinny to be world class at this point in his career. Maybe his career doesn't go toe to toe with Messi or Ronaldo, but I mean they're washed anyways.
Mhm.
No, I'm just kidding.
Not Messi.
But he's a great player, and that Brazil front line has really been putting in work. Cunha's been awesome. Vinny's been great. Their defense has been great. They have Gabriel. I think this is just a very complete team. But I don't want to say that this is going to be a runaway game because I do think Japan is very, very good. Japan tied Netherlands 2-2. And I think Netherlands are one of my favorites to actually go on and win this whole thing.
Hmm.
They are a great defensive team. And to put 2 goals against Netherlands, maybe it doesn't seem like a lot, but 2 goals against a defensive powerhouse like Netherlands is a really good number. I think that this will be a game where both sides score goals. It could even go into extra time, but I don't think that Brazil is going to lose this just because their attack is much better than Japan's defense. But I do think Japan will be able to get a goal or two, make this a somewhat close game. If I had to guess, I would say it's probably going to be like 3-1 or 3-2 Brazil. They're both going to score goals, but Brazil, just has a little bit more than Japan does. So yeah, they're moving on.
Hmm. Yeah. It's going to be a solid matchup. I don't know if it's going to be as good as this next matchup we have coming up. This, for me, might be the best matchup in all of round one. We got Netherlands versus Morocco. I feel like both teams could easily make a run. Noah, I'm gonna start with you. Who do you got winning this?
Yeah, I mean, you've got the Morocco shirt on, so hard to wonder who you're gonna pick. But I do like the Netherlands in this one. I think this is a great defensive matchup. We know how successful both Virgil and Ashraf Hakimi have been during these tournaments. Some of the best defenders in the world. Last year, Morocco went on that miraculous run. They made it all the way to the semifinals, where they unfortunately lost to I think it was France.
Think it was
Um, but they are very experienced for the World Cup, and I'm not counting them out in this game at all. But I really, really like the Netherlands this year. I think that they have what they haven't had in so many years, which is good scoring, good offense. Brian Broby has been amazing. He's been able to net them. Cody Gakpo, 2 or 3 goals so far this tournament. They're both doing well on offense. And all the Netherlands needs to win this game is literally just one goal. One goal and then park the bus the rest of the game, and I think they're going to be able to do it. I don't think Morocco is in the best form right now because they only beat Scotland by one. They allowed Haiti to score 2 goals. I mean, I don't necessarily feel confident in Morocco, and I feel like the Netherlands are really they're in great form right now.
Yeah, both of these teams feel like defense heavy. The Dutch are very defense centered and Morocco. And I just want to point out how close both of these teams were at last World Cup. For this to be a first round matchup
Yeah.
is insane. Holland last World Cup lost to Argentina in pins. They came that close to winning it and then knocking out the eventual champs. And then, as you mentioned, Morocco lost in the quarterfinal. So, in one dimension, this could have been a rematch from the final of 2022 had Morocco put up a better fight and had the Dutch put up a better fight against Argentina in pins. But I mean, I'm taking the team that went further. Last World Cup had more experience. I mean, it's not really a surprise.
Yeah.
But yeah, so give me Morocco.
Fair enough. I mean, it's honestly a toss up. I think both teams are great. And Moroccan fans will tell you that each one of their players are the best in the world. But I think that the Netherlands just have a little bit more than them to get them through. We're back. Maybe the third take we've had at this, but some bad technical difficulties, unfortunately. We wish we could be together so we could do it in one take like usual. We're usually perfect. We never have any troubles. Just kidding. Um, but yeah, we were talking about Mexico, Ecuador, and Brady. You were saying,
We just cannot catch any breaks. But Mexico, this team is such a good story. Guillermo Ochoa, in his sixth World Cup, I believe, he has been, he's obviously not the main guy, but I just want them to go so far just for him because he's been here through it all. He's been such a good, you know, he's been the face of Mexican soccer, probably, at least for goalkeepers. But their crowd is just so insane. When Quinones scored that opening goal of the World Cup, the first goal, the whole crowd was amazing. But I think Quinones and Raul Jimenez are going to be the key for them scoring. I think that they have too much power in terms of their attack for Ecuador to compete. So for that reason, I think Mexico is going to win and move on to the Sweet 16.
Sweet 16. I love it. And I'm with you on that as well. I think Mexico is a great team. Their group, I didn't think was as bad as the teams showed up as, but they haven't lost a game in their World Cup so far, and I don't think this is going to be the first team to beat them. Ecuador, they got through on a miracle. I mean, that game against Germany, I think, was a bit of a fluke. I mean, it was a great moment for their country, but they rested a lot of their great players. I mean, Florian Wirtz, Kai Havertz, and Josh Kimmich all had less than 75 minutes played. They were subbed off at some point. Um, and so I just don't really think that Ecuador is legit enough to go toe to toe with Mexico. And so I think Mexico takes this one.
Yeah.
Another good game though, and it's going to determine who USA is going to have to face off with. should they beat Bosnia and Herzegovina in the first round, Belgium and Senegal, two very solid teams that haven't necessarily shown up how we had expected going into this tournament, but now they get a chance to prove themselves when they're playing against each other.
Yeah, looking at all these other matchups, I would say this is probably the second best matchup of the round of 32. I mean, in terms of closeness, it's going to be a very tight game. I think both of these teams could potentially beat the US, but the difference between this and the Netherlands versus Morocco game is I don't think either of them are going to go on a serious run. But just Belgium, I remember a few years ago they were really good. I think, did we play them in 2014? Do you remember?
I was not really following soccer in
Yeah.
2014, but if you say it, I believe it.
Yeah. I mean, Belgium was the one seed. They've had an easy schedule. I'm really a huge fan of the Leonard Fournette lookalike, Lukaku. But he's been scoring. I think he is going to be the main piece for Belgium, and I think that they're gonna take down Senegal.
Man, I gotta go with a slightly different take here. I think Senegal are super underrated. They were in kind of like the group of death. I mean, it's hard to say group of death this year because I mean, basically everyone makes it other than freaking Curacao. Um, but they had to play two very tough teams in France and Norway. And then when they played Iraq, it was like they were a whole different team. They dropped five on their head. Like it was very easy for them to score five goals. And Belgium, I feel like they just kind of played well. They didn't show me anything big. They drew to Iran, they drew to Egypt. They did play well against New Zealand, but I think Senegal is gonna shock what everyone else thinks. I can already see the USA versus Senegal graphic on my screen, and I think one guy that we've gotta take mention of is Pape Gay, and in his last match, he scored a couple against Iraq, and he is a great player. Sadio Mane is who everybody's going to be talking about, but Pape Gay, I think he's going to be the man of the match. I think Belgium is going to go home very disappointed, and I think Senegal is going to then lose to the U.S. in the next round. Whoever plays the U.S. will lose, but seems like we're
Yeah.
just going from banger to banger here. This is what I think is probably the best matchup of this round. I mean, this is just two great teams that for whatever reason got matched up in the first round. We've got Croatia and Portugal. Who would have thought that they would be playing each other in the first round? Croatia, a semifinalist, last year they were in the finals semifinals last World Cup. You forget that they're not every year. Two World Cups ago, they were in the finals, and they just haven't been able to get it done in the biggest moments. And then Portugal, a lot of talent this year, but they've never really got it done in the World Cup.
Yeah. I mean, I can see two things happening on this run for Portugal. And this is going to sound so broad, but I mean it in the most extreme way possible. Ronaldo is either going to play out of his mind and he is going to get his first World Cup and just do everything he can for them to win, or he's just going to completely ghost. And while he did have those two goals against Uzbekistan, it's looking like for the rest of the World Cup, he's been a ghost. I think, Croatia, I can't even remember who Portugal played. They played Colombia and Congo.
Yeah, and
Shutout,
Uzbekistan, yeah.
Uzbekistan. They got shut out versus Congo, I believe, right? 0-0. And
Yeah,
then
0-0 to Congo.
0-0 versus Colombia, who they should have lost to. They lost by a toe. Um, but I think, Luka Modric at the ripe age of Croatia has been shutting it down defensively at the ripe age of 40, excuse me.
Yeah.
Uh, and they played well against England, even though they lost. And I think Portugal hasn't faced a team like England. And I think that Croatia is going to come in more battle tested and shut down Ronaldo's last World Cup.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I think it's ridiculous. I saw on ESPN today that a lot of people have been picking Portugal to go all the way to the finals to get Ronaldo his first World Cup. I think that's an abysmal take. Ronaldo is definitely not the centerpiece of this Portugal team anymore. They have too much other talent. They've got Vitinha, who's great, Bruno Fernandes, Silva, all great players. I just really, Nuno Mendes too is great. I just don't think that he is at the center anymore, and neither is Luka Modric. He's still a great player, but I mean, against great teams like England, he didn't play very well. But Croatia has too much experience in the World Cup to lose in the first round. Portugal, every year, we're saying the same things. Of almost playing what people call haram ball, which is just sitting back on defense and kind of just, surviving for the whole game. That's how they've been drawing these incredible teams like England. There was no action in that game. That was probably the most boring game of the whole entire group stage. And I just don't necessarily know if that style of play works if you have to go into extra time or in a knockout game like this is. And I think Colombia is an underrated team. They've got Luis Diaz, who, although he hasn't played as well as many thought he would, is still a very viable goal scoring threat. And I think all it takes for Colombia is one to go in the back of the net. And I don't think Ghana is going to be able to penetrate this Colombia defense that's only allowed one goal in 3 games against pretty tough opponents in Portugal and Congo, 2 teams that are in the knockout stage.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think Colombia, well, they did have to play Portugal. I feel like they just, something about them, I can't put my finger on it, but it's been a little bit underwhelming. And, Ghana came and they were able to shut out Harry Kane in England. Harry Kane, arguably the best player in the world right now. I know that's a take. My English friend keeps on yapping about how good he is. Shout out Ethan Bagwell. But I think if they're able to do that, I mean, they can't really, scoring isn't necessarily their strong suit. Obviously, you mentioned their strategy of how they're not really going to let up many goals. I think they can get one. I think if they get one and try to push this game as long as they could, it goes in their favor, and I think they're going to be able to do that. So give me Ghana. Colombia, yeah, I mean, they've allowed one goal every game, uh, or one goal through every game, so they're going to have to push through at some point. But I think that moment is today. I think pins is the best case scenario for Ghana.
Yeah. Well, if that happens, I'm gonna be surprised. But our next game is 2 teams that are not really in the limelight often in this beautiful game, but they both call it different things. For Egypt, it's football, and for Australia, it's soccer. Classic football versus soccer matchup. Usually, we're used to saying that for the U.S., but we've got it here as well. So, Brady, what do you think?
First of all, I'm just gonna say Socceroos is a fantastic name for a team. I think Bo Salah, obviously, he's one of the great players of the world. Um, this Australian offense has not scored since June 13th in their first matchup, but they also haven't given up a goal since playing the Americans. So I think Mo Salah, I think Australia, the Aussies will be able to shut them down, but it's going to be very tight. But I still think Australia gets it done. And I also think at a larger scheme of things, Australia was probably the biggest test to a healthy American team. Don't want to keep dragging this to the U.S., but I think a game like this can really show if the U.S. is legit, seeing how their group did, or they just got lucky with a lucky group.
Yeah, and I unfortunately have to take the stance that they did get an easy draw. Um, I just didn't really see anything exciting in that game versus the US. I didn't see really much fight at all. And Australia did something that is a telltale sign of a bad team in any sport. They imploded on themselves. The U.S. only scored one goal with their own feet in that game. Australia had an own goal in that matchup, which is very, very telling. I don't think the same intensity as Egypt. These more Asian African teams are always going to bring it during the World Cup. They have so much pride for their country. And I think because Australia doesn't have anybody who's, extraordinarily talented, I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with the pride that the Egyptians have and with the intensity that they have. Um, Egypt, if we're just looking at their track record, they tied with Belgium, who's really, really good, or who we think is good. And Australia drew Paraguay, who, we remember how that went with the U.S. That was a 4-1 game. So I feel more confident in picking Egypt just because they do have Mo Salah. They have Omar Marmoush, just pretty good players. I just don't think Australia really has anybody to keep up with them. But I do think this is going to be a close game. I'm still taking Egypt, though, because I just think they have a little bit more. I think this is going to be a great round. I mean,
Yeah.
my favorite round of any tournament is always the first round. And I don't consider the group stage to be the first round. That, to me, that's the real qualifiers. Now this is when the real tournament starts. All the best teams in the world are here. Who wants it the most? And the first round is always when the craziest things happen. I want to see all of the upset teams fighting for their lives so that we can get better television and just, love what we're seeing on our screen. And I want to see an insane upset. I will be rooting for Cabo Verde versus Argentina, even though I'm wearing this Messi jersey. I got this Messi jersey from my ex-girlfriend anyways, so it doesn't matter. I hope that Cabo Verde wins and that Vozinha has 12 saves.
I mean, we could love Messi, but that's almost like, you your March Madness winner is the 1 seed and they're going to lose to the 16 seed. I'm cheering for the 16 seed
Of
every
course.
single time. One of the excitement about this, I think that you were thinking of too, when it comes to getting the knockout is you lose, you're done. Like, we're not going to see the World Cup winner, the two teams in the final, lose until they get to the final. One of
Yeah.
them does, at least. Who do you think are those two teams?
Dude, honestly, I have a really twisted perception of this World Cup because I think everybody is going into it thinking that what happened last year or last World Cup is gonna magically repeat itself. And if we're going off of what we saw in the last World Cup, it was so much different than the World Cup before it. Obviously, we still saw France, we still saw Croatia, we still, some of the teams were the same, but there are always teams that make runs. And if I'm trying to think outside of the box here, obviously I could say France because they have that dynamic front three. Dembele is amazing. Mbappe is definitely the best player in the tournament. But if I'm just going with my gut here, who do I think could make a run? And this is going to shock some of our viewers, so please be prepared. My World Cup final prediction, Brazil versus Netherlands.
Wow.
Yes, I said it here, and I've done all of the math. I think Netherlands have the right formula to keep up with France. They've got big physical defenders. They've got scorers that can get production going. I think they are the perfect team to take down France, who have been time and time again in these World Cup final situations. They've gone so far the last two, but I really have hope in this Netherlands team. Also, the math guy that's predicted all of the last World Cup said that Netherlands is going to win it, so I'm also going off of that. And then with Brazil, I think having Neymar not play as big of a role this year has been much better for them in terms of competitive soccer because Neymar is the type of player, yes, he's going to be tricky, yes, he's going to be fancy, but he slows down the pace of play, he's going to hold the ball for himself, and there's not as much selfless play going on. And so I think Brazil, this is their year of any year. If they can't get it done this year, I'm going to have to start having real questions about this team. But I think Vinny Jr. is great. I've seen enough from Mateus Cunha. I think they have a relatively easy path to the final. I think that right side of the tournament is much weaker than the left side, because they want Messi to go back to back. But yeah, I think that the Brazil is going to have more than some of the other teams on their side. And I think when it's Brazil versus Netherlands, I think Brazil on a big stage is going to perform better than Netherlands. And, it's just my gut feeling. If we come back to this and, they both get eliminated in the first round, hoo. But if I get it right, then that's amazing.
It is. I'm actually gonna go to the route that you specifically said would not happen. When I look at the World Cup, two nations stand out as the best, and they happen to be the two nations that were also in the last World Cup. I have France facing off against Argentina. The whole world will be watching the Mecca of sports, and it will be taking place at MetLife Stadium. I'm just gonna let that sink in for a second. But I think, hopefully, thank goodness, they got new turf. We're not gonna. I mean, everybody be disappointed if we all saw Mbappe and Messi all tear their ACLs in the World
Yeah.
Cup
With the
final.
history of that stadium, you
Yeah,
never know.
but I think we got the GOAT versus the dictator. I think that the GOAT is going to eat harder than the Nats are eating me up right now. So I give me Argentina to go back to back. FIFA is going to get its wish, and that is going to be Messi back to back.
Wow. Well, you seem to think it's going to go exactly how it went last year. I'm saying that we're getting a whole new set of teams. I think France will make it that far. They'll probably be a semifinal team. Maybe Argentina will, get that far. I still have questions about Argentina because I think they got a lucky group. But regardless, we're going to see how this all plays out. And yeah, thanks for sticking with us. We definitely had a couple of troubles today, but those were our takes. And yeah, anything you want to say before we cap this off?
Uh, that's pretty much it. We'll see how it all unravels.
Yeah.
Excuse me. USA. This is our year. It's not coming home. It's never been home, so I don't know why they call it home, but it's going back to where it's been the past 4 years, to Argentina.
And I'm saying we're going with the Brazilian boys, the smooth riders, the best dance moves. Um, all right, that was off the dome. Thank you guys so much. I don't have a football to throw this time, so I'm just gonna press this pillow to the camera and end it off. Hope you guys enjoy watching the World Cup. I will be watching. See you guys for maybe football season. You never
We'll
know when we'll
see.
be back.